Welcome back, Ready Comics Rollers. This is our review of Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yes!
There was a war in the stars, starring Daisy Ridley, with Mark Hamill.
Pretty much.
And that's our spoiler-free review.
Alright, bye everybody. And we're back, and that was our spoiler-free review. Now, going forward, this is going to be our actual spoiler-filled review. Before, we didn't have any kind of reaction to make it a true spoiler-free review. Going forward, you have been warned. So, how we decided to approach this is, how the story was told for Star Wars is realistically...
two converging parts.
There's two converging parts. There's stuff that has to do with the Resistance, and then everything else that has to do with Rey. So that's how we're going to take this to kind of X the jumping back and forth between the scenes like they do in the movie, until they finally get to the convergence. Okay? I think we should start off with the Resistance side. Major parts for the Resistance.
We had a not Hoth.
We had a not Hoth.
It was a lot shorter than Hoth.
It was a Salt Hoth. Okay? But before even that, I think that, in my own opinion, the parts that had to do with the Resistance, a lot of parts fell flat. For instance, when Finn goes off with Rose in this movie, they go off on a mission to get a code breaker, which is, I forgot the actor's name.
Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, del Toro.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro.
Yes. And they have to go get him on a cantina-type world, which has gambling and corrupt people, and you try to go as best as possible with these scenes that actually lead up to that, and it didn't feel enjoyable to me. I don't know, like, how did you feel about some of these scenes?
I liked Benicio del Toro's character. I like the
twitchiness. I like the twitchiness.
He's supposed to have been like electrocuted so many times that now he has a lisp from it.
Exactly. He kind of has that. You think the hacker who has the jitters. This is what he.
Yeah.
You know.
He's a slicer.
Yes.
Is his actual profession. So his character is good. The character of Rose, I didn't mind so much.
No, actually,
the fact that Finn turns his Force boner from one direction to the other kind of is hilarious.
Right.
Because he's all like, I have to go find Rey. Oh, wait. Someone else who's interested in me. I'm going to go with you.
Okay, before that even goes on, I think that the entire intentions of the scenes with Finn and Rose is to make sure that the Resistance fleet, which is going through issues with the First Order's been able to track them. So they're running and running and running after an amazing space scene that was done by the actor for Poe Dameron, blowing up this massive Star Destroyer, a Dreadnought class ship. They're running, and the First Order's still able to go after them. And those scenes in space, amazing. Just how they kind of did all the dogfighting and the flight patterns, amazing scenes, amazingly well done. So the First Order is chasing after the Resistance, and that causes Finn to go, well, if the Resistance is destroyed and Rey knows how to find us because of a beacon, if the Resistance is no more, Rey's can either not find us or go into a trap. So that's why they kind of go on the mission.
Yeah.
There's some... I wouldn't even say back and forth. There's more intention on the character Rose's side to have interest in Finn.
Well, they also do a lot more of the progression on Finn with the whole trying to... He starts to give more of a crap about the Resistance, even though he was all... When he was with the First Order, he was all, I don't want to fight.
Well, you know what, though? That's kind of always been in his character. He ran away from the First Order. He wanted to join kind of the Resistance, but at the same time, though, I just don't think he wants to be in any kind of war. He doesn't want to have any part of it. So he still follows through in that, I don't want to be here, and the only thing that's keeping me here is Rey. So that makes sense. Now, as the scenes progress for Finn and Rose, you still cut back to things that are happening with Leia, Poe Dameron, on the Resistance ship that's literally just trying to run as fast as they can before fuel runs out. In those scenes, it brings a good... I think those scenes were done well to kind of bring this tension of inevitable or the coming doom, if you will. You know what I mean?
Well, the overarching part of the whole Resistance side of this is the Resistance is falling apart at every step of the way.
Yes.
Literally everything that they do costs them ships, costs them pilots, costs them something. And they never have a cost-free mission.
And that they point a lot of that at Poe. And the reason for that is because he's an inexperienced leader. He wants to be the hero, and he will do whatever it takes in the success of the mission, which means most of his fleet and all of their bombers being destroyed. So it really drives that character development of Poe, you know, being this inexperienced kind of foolhardy hotshot pilot. And we kind of see him slowly grow throughout the movie in you know, some of these scenes.
The main thing that I have to point out is BB-8 Ex Machina.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. BB-8 being able to hack and drive everything.
Yeah. BB-8 literally is the Ex Machina machine. Like, I mean, I know R2-D2 did that a lot in the...
R2 was able to hack everything. BB-8 was able to pilot and steal everything. That's the difference between these two little robots, okay?
Yeah. But, oh my god, just literally every single time it looks like, oh, we're screwed. BB-8 to the rescue!
And that was quite apparent in the planet that they went to for... Finn and Rose went to the planet to go to this Cantina Vegas-style casino planet. And when they're trying to escape... BB-8 to the rescue, and he's able to, you know, steal a ship with Del Toro's character and come in for the rescue. It's just like, alright, BB-8 just killing it with this Grand Theft Starship. Alright, simple as that. But again, some of these, I think those were some of the highlights of those scenes. A lot of the scenes, I know it's development for Rose.
Well, a lot of the stuff post Leia being injured or incapacitated, a lot of that, like, a lot of the dimensions between Poe and the new Admiralty doesn't work very well. I think that those scenes were a little bit sluggish. I think they tried way too hard to develop Poe, and I think he's just kind of a very two-dimensional character. He's a hero archetype. Like, that's what he does.
Well,
and even at the end of all of his arc, he's still doing the same thing.
Right. I mean, he grows a little bit, but he is still doing the same thing. But I think that was kind of the one thing that this movie did struggle with, which is telling all these stories. Because, you know, before we had the main cast, we had Luke, Leia, and Han, and Chewie.
And everybody was together. There wasn't a lot of separation.
If there was a division, it was, you know, Han and Leia doing something. Luke.
And this is very much Empire Strikes Back. The only time that we really saw that in the Star Wars, the core trilogy was
the split with Empire Strikes Back.
Because when you had Han and them on the asteroid while Luke is on. Dagobah.
Yeah, Dagobah. Going through his training, which, that is the thing, okay? Aside from these scenes with the Resistance, this movie was...
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back to a point.
Yeah.
It has its variations, but beginning, end, felt very much like Empire Strikes Back. There's some twists and turns in it to kind of go in directions that you didn't think were going to go, which was great and really refreshing in this movie. But let's cut over to the Rey side of things. Rey going through this training with, you know, old crotchety Luke Skywalker. And it is true. You're just looking at this guy who before sometimes had this dark tone, but didn't come off as like that much of a sarcastic prick. And this one he kind of did.
So the way that this whole thing even begins is from the scene from
the end
Force
of
Awakens,
Force Awakens, yeah.
where she starts to hand him the lightsaber. Well, he takes the lightsaber, throws it over his shoulder, like, what the? I don't need this piece.
I don't care. I don't want any part of this. We're done.
Yeah. Luke's whole thing is, I'm crotchety and I don't want to be a part of any of your story. Go away.
But at the same time, though, in these scenes where Rey's trying to gain the training of Luke and bring him back to the Resistance, it's very reminiscent of Luke going through his training with Yoda, because Yoda in the very beginning, as you remember, kind of said, "Hey, I don't know who you're talking about. I want no part of this. Whatever." And then he kind of opens up and starts to develop Luke's training. Not that different than what Luke is kind of putting Rey through in this movie. A little bit more extreme, because he is adamant about not being a part. He actually literally says he came to this planet to separate himself from everything that was going on in the galaxy and eventually die. And
because the legacy of the Jedi is failure.
Exactly. What you learn in the movie, that he has a strong sense of that he failed Kylo Ren, leading towards Kylo Ren's rise into the dark side. So that's why he kind of turtle hermits this and goes off into this unknown part of the unknown region in space, an unknown planet. Which, some of the cool things that were there, the old school temple of the Jedi being out of this tree, and the quick glimpse and nod to old Jedi manuscripts, which possibly could be journals or books of the wills. Not necessarily confirmed, just saying that they were books from the beginning of the Jedi Order.
Yeah, Luke never gives them the names, but I think in the books they go over what they, like, not in the books that we find, but in the books that are going to be coming out for the Star Wars.
Right, in the novels that are
the novelizations of these, it will explain what the books were.
Right. But as Rey's training starts to actually start unfolding, you get to see, just like you do in the trailers, the power that Rey possesses. And he does a couple of quick lessons with her, and you get to see not just the fact that she's powerful, but that slight dip to, or acknowledgement of the dark side from Rey, which leads to Luke going, I've seen this power before, I saw it in Ben, I don't fear it. I didn't fear it then. I fear it now. So that was the big part of that portion. And you find out on this planet you have the beginning Jedi Temple, but also a very deep pit for, literally, it's a pit that leads to a place of great dark energy for the dark side. So that opens up some new pathways for the characters in Luke's training and Rey's development while she's still on the island. You also find out the truth about what caused Kylo to kind of go against, Luke's Jedi Order.
And it's a whole bunch of, like, misunderstanding, and that is, truthfully, the Jedi way. Misunderstanding.
Misunderstanding, and loves to contradict itself, because that, can't have one without the other for the Jedi. And I guess we'll touch on this lightly. The big spoiler for why Kylo decided to go dark side is because Luke finds darkness
in him, and Kylo wakes up to a lightsaber over his head.
Yes.
And overreacts.
Yes.
Overreacts.
Oh, overreaction. How the story plays out is because Rey and Kylo are somehow connected, force-linked, throughout the movie. So they get to talk to each other through great spans of space. And they're conversing back and forth to not just develop each other's character.
Very much like how Luke and Leia do it, but they don't want to.
They don't. To tell you the truth, it was a little bit stronger. So it helps develop a lot more of, well, I'm hiding this from Luke. This is what's going on. I'm finding out more about my enemy. He's finding a little bit more about me. So it goes from there, and you find out the story of why Luke feels like he failed Kylo, and kind of this big misunderstanding that was Luke's fault. Let's be real about this. He comes over and he's about to put the axe to, or lightsaber, to Kylo, but pulls back because he realizes this isn't the right way to do it. Kylo just happens to wake up in time, and boom, storm of dark side, in a sense. So at that point in time,
But we also do learn one critical thing from both angles of the story. Kylo made off with some of the recruits from the Jedi Temple. He didn't kill everybody.
No, he didn't. He didn't kill everyone, and it blatantly said... I think that's the new Knights of Ren, which we'll probably see in the next movie. We did not see the Knights of Ren in this movie, so we'll have to find out really what's going on.
Saw some nice Imperial guards, though. Those guys were badass.
Yes. Very reminiscent of Legacy-era Imperial Knights, wearing all red, kind of Force users. Now, these guys, we don't know if they were Force users. Really strong combatants.
They used vibro weapons that had the edges that could resist lightsabers. I forget what that was called. Something weave.
The Cortosis weave.
Cortosis weave. There we
go. They were really cool. But when Rey's training kind of comes to an abrupt end, she leaves to go confront Kylo, and she believes that she can bring him back to the light side. That's where both stories finally converge.
You have everybody on Snoke's ship. Finn is with Phasma and Ruby and a whole bunch of First Order troopers, and then you have Rey with Kylo and Snoke and these Imperial guards.
Right. Again, now this was more of like the capture, you can say from the first Star Wars movie.
Well, this is very reminiscent of when Lando turns them over to...
kind of turns them... Because that was Del Toro's part, he actually makes a deal behind their back, Finn and Rose, to kind of turn them in. So that was kind of the Lando part in Empire Strikes Back. And while
even the whole thing between Kylo and Ren is kind of the same way, because he uses their Force connection to bring her to him, and then turns her over to Snoke to play out what I believe was his ultimate goal of killing Snoke.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That's the big spoiler. Snoke gone. In this movie, literally, he's playing the Master's game and he gets played. Yep. He has Rey's lightsaber right next to him, and Kylo is about to take down Rey, and he uses the Force to turn... Kylo uses the Force to turn Rey's lightsaber right into Snoke and cuts him in half. Gone. The guy... I guess for everyone anticipating and putting so much theory behind Snoke, Disney did the ultimate thing of misdirection and said, nope, he's not even worth your time, because we're going to kill him off. Now, if something happens in the next movie, and let's just say he's actually transferred his essence into someone, or he's another clone or something, who knows, but this character
he was unimportant.
Unimportant. Everything that we thought and wanted to theorize about him, Plagueis. I wanted him to be Plagueis.
Now you don't want him to be Plagueis.
Now I don't want him to be Plagueis, and I'm glad that he's not Plagueis because he's gone.
He went out like a bitch.
Which gives rise to Kylo now being the new Lord Commander. Okay? Not of the Night's Watch, I'm sorry. But Supreme Commander.
Supreme Leader.
Supreme Leader, okay? Which, when this is going on, the rebels are trying to kind of do their thing to get away. There's a lot of conflict on the ship. And then one of the coolest moments when the acting leader of the Resistance turns the ship, completely abandoned except for her, on there and goes through hyperspace right through Snoke's ship and basically does this hyperspace cannon of shrapnel and taking out a lot of the fleet.
And now you know what happens when you try to jump to light speed and
at a ship.
At a ship.
At a ship. Yeah, pretty much. Which really cool digitally. I thought that was an amazing thing.
It was just a beautiful set of scenes for that.
Right. So the movie progresses forward. We get down to the Hoth of this movie, which is
the second Hoth. Because we had the first Hoth, which is the planet they were initially escaping from at the very beginning of the movie.
Well, I count this one more like Hoth because
it lasted longer.
Well,
and you had a blast door.
You had a blast door. You had trenches. Everything was coated in a snowy type powder, which really wasn't.
It was salt.
Well,
it was cryot.
Yeah. So you have the salt planet and everything salt. So that's why I kind of say it's Hoth number 2. You know,
it's Red Hoth.
It's Red Hoth. Yeah, Red Hoth. There you go. And everything kind of goes down to there. That's where you see the guerrilla walkers and every ship strutting across these salt paths, which comes into one of the most badass scenes, I think, in the movie. Luke comes in. Okay? They're trying to figure out how we're going to defeat the First Order on this planet.
Or at least escape.
Yeah, or at least escape. And Luke comes in. And Luke fights Kylo Ren. And it just looks like he's in his prime.
He is a lightsaber ninja in this fight.
He's doing all this stuff where he's sliding under.
He matrixes.
He does. He matrixes, and the blade comes right across the tip of his nose, and he's unscathed. And it's all just a ploy to let, the Resistance find a way out of the cave and leave safely. And you find out it was a Force illusion. Luke was still on his planet where he was escaping from everything, appeared there in Force illusion, which was crazy because he basically, Leia thought he was there. There was
Everybody
a physical
thought he was,
embrace.
yeah.
There was a physical embrace. And you find out, okay, that's why he looks younger. That's why he looks so in his prime. He's not just cleaned up. He's a Force illusion from what he pictures his, dominant master state was. Fights Kylo unscathed, he's just like, yep, you can't hit me, and you find out Luke's an illusion, and Kylo gets completely frustrated, realizes the rebels are leaving, and his last words to Kylo is that he is not the last Jedi, that Rey is now the new Jedi, the new first Jedi, because the legacy will go on. So, Rey kind of has this moment where you kind of see her using awesome power. It's, again, very reminiscent of Luke rising
the TIE fighter the
X-Wing out of the bog when he's on Dagobah. And then, realistically, it kind of wraps out the movie. Overall, my thoughts of the movie is I really enjoyed it. I thought that the fact that it was still very familiar. It was a build off of 7, which I think both me and Mike agree. When you're going into this franchise for the new trilogy, because of everyone's taste for the prequels, you wanted it to be very homey for Episode 7. Okay, you wanted it to feel very familiar, which they did. Some people would say too much so with the complete rehash, but it at least felt familiar with this introduction to new characters. The second movie still played in a part that was familiar with Empire Strikes Back, but had a lot of differences and a lot of different twists that were, whoa, this is crazy. I thought Kylo was going to turn heel and start going dark side or light sider because this would be a story of his redemption with Rey. Which, by the way, spoilers for Rey. Parents? Garbage. The parents are actually pointless in this movie because they literally say, no, you're an anomaly. Your parents are just some
junk traders.
Junk traders that wanted to sell you for some coin. That's it. Yep, that's it. Pretty much. Yeah. So what you think is going to happen in the movie doesn't. What you think you're really piled on with all these theories. Yeah, it's kind of like they paid attention to that and said, no, we're not doing that.
We're not doing any of that.
We're not doing any of that.
Whatever you guys say, we're not doing that.
Yeah. So at least it was a little bit refreshing to have that. Like I said, the Resistance parts, a little bit lackluster. I wasn't completely... I don't think that they were all enjoyable moments.
But then again, how much can we really enjoy Rebel Scum?
Exactly. I mean, yeah, I'm not a Rebel Scum kind of guy. But what about you, Mike? How did you kind of feel about the movie?
I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I even enjoyed some of the Resistance parts that you didn't find as enjoyable. I mean, there were parts that really it felt like they didn't fit, but all in all,
I like the new cantina.
I did like the new. I'm going to call it Nar Shaddaa.
Okay, yeah, pretty much, yeah. So ultimately, what are we going to give it for a review?
I'm always the biased one. I love this movie. Like, to me, it fits right up there with Empire Strikes Back as far as tone and just the way that it left me feeling by the end of it. So it gets my 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Again, you were definitely up there. I'm going to say, because I didn't find the movie in perfect taste, and there were some points where I said that I don't really care for this, but I get why they did it, to develop stuff. I'm going to give it probably my highest score that we've given for these reviews. I'm going to go an 8.5. I thought it was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. Just the fact that I had problems with it isn't going to get me a perfect score. So,
see, that's the thing. Like, to me, there have been no perfect movies besides Empire Strikes Back. So this is the closest thing to that.
But that's what I'm saying. If I'm going to compare it to Empire Strikes Back, that's why I can't go to perfect score, because Empire Strikes Back did it perfectly, and this movie had me have some doubts.
Well, it made you deal with a lot more rebel scum.
I hate rebel scum. So that's going to roll us out for this review. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, comment anything you thought was interesting in the review or even in the movie down below, and don't forget to ding that bell to make sure you know whenever our content is coming out. And don't forget to follow us on basically a whole bunch of different forms of social media, our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, which will be listed right down below. And to really kick things off, if you want to debate your standing for this movie and how you felt, join our Discord channel. Okay, we can talk all about this and see what scenes you liked, didn't like, where you think the next movie is going to be going if you join us on Discord. All right, so have a good one.